Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for listening. Thank you for downloading. And thank you for subscribing to the latest edition of the 12 Kyle podcast. I'm your boy, 12 Kyle. And we got a special guest, man. Well, I always say we got special guests, but this guest is a special one. Um, he's been on here before. He needs no introduction, but I'm going to give him one anyway. He is the host of Open Run with BTG and BTG for president. We nominated him. He has been elected. He has come to save the world. The West Coast Don, the east side of the West Coast, my brother Baylor, the great Baylor. What up?
Hey, you are one of the first podcasters to actually get my sports podcast name right. It's been on the run, you know what I mean? And like, I'm not running from anybody, but it's definitely Open Run.
Open Run.
Yeah, and you'll be out. You'll be out in a couple of days on the Open Run.
Okay, cool.
Yeah.
That's what's up, man. As always, man, glad to have you on. I listen to your podcast every week. And I try to do is I try to listen to them back to back to get the full essence, because the Open Run with BTG is always something different because it's sports related. Yeah. But Baylor for president, BTG for president, I mean, like, it could be anything. It could be, you know, what's going on at the crib. It could be you going to the jacuzzi with your wife. It could be just a regular conversation. And anybody who's been listening to podcasts, been following this brother, they know that he is on top and no signs of slowing down. Diehard sports fan. And like I said, glad to have him back on this podcast. I could not do this specific episode without you. And I told you, because I had the idea 4 or 5 months ago, and we talked about it. He was like, yeah, let's do it. And, you know, it's like, we're like rappers, you know, like we'll say, okay, well, hey, we're going to record. And it's just really when I come to your city, when I'm in your city, I'm going to pull up in the studio and we're going to rap, you know, like that. But, you know, long time coming, man. But I had to get you on for this one, man. We're going to talk about the best 5 West Coast rappers. Now, for those of you listening, you guys know that I'm a huge hip hop head. What you don't know is that, you know, at the time that I started listening to rap, and I'm 10 years older than Baylor, at the time that I started listening to rap really wasn't, it obviously wasn't as popular as it is now, but there was no biases. Like, you listened to whoever was dope. So if it was Hammer, you was listening to Hammer. If it was Digital Underground, you was listening to Digital Underground. If it was Luke, it was Luke. If it was the Ghetto Boys, it was Ghetto. There really wasn't a lot, at least where I'm from, because I'm from South Carolina. There wasn't a lot of regional bias, and it definitely wasn't a lot of regional bias for cats like me who were from the South, because there was nobody rapping from the South, with the exception of Luke and a handful of others and Ghetto Boys. At that time, you know, you talking mid 80s, nobody was rapping from the South. So we gravitated towards whoever we thought was dope. And one of the things that changed me, or changed my perspective on rap, because I was a huge rap fan, one of the main things that changed my perspective was my boy Jay Fresh, who actually currently lives in Long Beach. He lives around the corner from me back home growing up. He had a tape, and the tape was called Easy Does It.
Okay.
Game changer, man. It changed everything.
Yeah.
I've spoken on this podcast before about how that tape got me in trouble. That tape but it also fueled my passion to listen to rap, because, you know, for a lot of people listening, you guys don't understand that rap was something that we thought was going to go away like breaking and disco. It was only supposed to be here for a short period of time. And when I heard Easy Does It, and my aunt heard Eazy-E cussing out, I had the big headphones on. She walked past me and she heard the skit where Michelle A says, he once was a thug from around the way. Easy. He's like, bitch, shut the fuck up. You know, get the fuck out of here. And my aunt heard that from my headphones. My headphones were on. And my aunt heard it, and she was like, what was that you're listening to? And I was like, huh? And she was like, You heard me. What is that you listening to? And I was like, I'm listening to Easy E. And I'm like, oh, happy. I'm listening to Easy E. And she's like, who the hell is Easy E? And so she takes the headphones off me. She puts them on. She hits rewind. Shout out to the rewind button. Plays it again. And she hears it. She's like, oh my gosh, what is this? She's like, I got to let your mom hear this. So my mom got home from work. So you ain't want your mom to hear this stuff. And man, my mom heard it. And she was like, take that tape out. She handed me the tape. She was like, go put it in the trash. She was like, don't you ever bring no shit like that in my house. And I'm like, you just cuss like you. So Baylor, I walk toward the trash can, act as if I'm putting it in the trash can, dip around the corner, stick it back in my pocket. And I figured if she didn't want me to listen to Eazy-E, that meant I needed to listen to Eazy-E. And it changed everything, man. But I said all that to say this. We didn't have a bias in South Carolina, growing up listening to whatever. And a lot of the stuff that we listened to was West Coast hip hop. So someone, born and raised on the West Coast in LA, before we even start talking about our five, man, what was like your first memories of rap, particularly from the neighborhoods and where you came from and that side of the United States?
It had a lot to do with Easy and NWA. You know what I mean? Like, we throw King T up in there as well.
Mm-hmm.
But no, they were like superheroes though. You know what I mean? That's how we looked at it. And then after that, we just had gangster rap. That's what I grew up off of.
Mm-hmm.
To this day, I still listen to gangster rap because it got a lot of that. It got a lot of it's just a lot of movement that comes along with listening to gangster rap. It's man, Dre, Battle Cat, you know what I'm saying? And all the way up to the Bay.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I listened to a lot of Bay Area artists, and if I had to do a Mount Rushmore for Bay Area artists, you already know two of them.
Oh yeah, of course.
E40 and T-Shirt ain't going nowhere.
Hands down.
You know so between and it's definitely a culture difference between the two. You know what I mean? But we're still related. You know what I'm saying? We still gonna make you dance. It's gonna be a lot of bass, heavy on the bass.
Yes.
Oh, heavy on the bass.
Heavy. Y'all believe in bass.
Yeah, heavy on the bass. And the way they mixed it in with the house parties and stuff like that is like, I used to make fun. I still do. I make fun of people from the East Coast, particularly New York. And I was like, yo, what did y'all dance to? You know what I'm saying? Unless y'all dancing the house music and stuff like that. Like, what was y'all actually dancing to? But it's a joke. I know they had some music too you could rock with.
Right.
But that's what it was. Like you said, that tape was key. You know what I'm saying? And Eazy-E, yeah, he's not going to be on your list for all-time MCs.
Right.
No, but he did have one of the most polarizing artists of all time in my eyes right for him. You know what I mean? So for him to actually complete that, like, I mean, he might not go down as one of the top artists of all time, but he's recognizable.
Of course.
You know I mean, cats know who he is.
Hands down.
And he's more of a legend in the streets than, obviously in the music business. But the music business helped propel his name to the South and the East Coast and that basically across the world. So shout out to Easy, man. That was definitely one of our superheroes right there.
Oh, no question. And I'll be honest, man, because I was relatively young when it came out, we believed everything. So like there was no internet or nothing like that. So if he said he shot somebody, we was like, man, Easy, he shot this dude. Like any and everything that we heard on that tape, we just believed it. So I didn't know what Bloods were. I didn't know what Crips were prior to, listening to that section of music because that was my introduction to LA. And I had no idea. Like we talked about it before when I had you on the podcast. Like you heard stories, you saw the news, but this was different. It was in your face. It was graphic, but there was a story and a message behind it. It wasn't just him saying, I shot this many people, I sold this many drugs, or I'm this kind of gangster, but like there was something behind it. And I think that's the thing that, kind of really goes unrecognized. And he's definitely a pioneer because, if there were no Eazy-E, him and NWA took gangster rap to a whole nother level. And I don't think we'll have the look or the sound that gangster rap became And it's all attributed to what they did, and the, obviously the groundbreaking album is Straight Outta Compton, which is another album from 1988, which I proclaim is the greatest year in hip hop.
Mhm.
But yeah, man, that changed. It changed everything. It Don't get me wrong. I was listening to Run DMC. I was listening to Curtis Blow, but that changed everything for me. To be honest, I don't even know how my boy Jay Fresh got his hands on the tape, because it wasn't something like it was being sold everywhere. He might have found it like in like a little bin on the side or something like that. I don't think it
Well,
wasn't.
and he stays in Long Beach, right?
Yeah, he lives on Long Beach, but at the time we were in Florence.
Oh, okay,
Yeah,
got you.
yeah. So he didn't know. I mean, in South Carolina at that particular time, we were talking about the 80s,
Unless he got
87.
mailed out.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, like we got it, but we always got music late. So whatever was happening in New York, it came. If something happened in New York, music wise, in June, we might hear about it in September. We were a couple months behind.
Which is crazy because y'all are actually closer to New York than we are. We was getting the music over there on the
Yeah,
East Coast.
we were getting it late. To be honest, man, we would get West Coast music before we got East Coast music. So that, as strange as it sounds.
That makes sense. This is why the West has always been cool with the South.
Yeah, oh yeah, always, man, always. And so that, in NWA Easy, listening to groups like 783, like you mentioned, King T, Act of Food, that was another thing that we used to bump. So it got me to thinking about my best 5 rappers from the West Coast. And it's hard because, like I said before, it's easy to do a top 10, right? Anybody can do a top 10. But when you say, okay, give me your best 5, that's a little bit more difficult. And so I'm interested, even with our age gap, but we are so much alike. I'm interested to see, because I have an idea of who might appear on yours, but then I'm like, I don't know, this one might not. But I told you, on your podcast that I would tell you, once we're done, who I thought was going to be on your list and who may have made
That's the part I'm waiting on.
it.
That's the part I'm waiting on.
So do you have yours from 5 to 1?
Absolutely do.
Okay, let's get it then.
Do it. And now before that, and I'm gonna start from 5, right?
Okay. Yep.
So are we going back and forth?
Yeah, let's go back and forth. Back and forth.
Well, just disclaimer. My top 5, I came up with my top 5 based off of who I listen to the most, and if I had to go into battle.
Okay.
And not just I'm not talking about album versus album. I'm not talking about lyricism. I'm talking about everything. I'm talking about what they did during and after their careers. I'm talking about what they meant for the city, my city in general, and how they crossed over to other people's cities.
Okay.
So at number 5, I got Nip.
Ooh. Okay, so tell me why you got Nipsey Hussle at number 5.
I got Nip at number 5 because when you talk about an overall West Coast artist in and out, he is probably number 1 if you want to talk about how our influence on the gang culture is. You know what I mean? Obviously, he was not shy by promoting his gang, Rolling 60s. You know what I'm saying?
Not at all.
But this was a businessman. This was a guy who grew up in the streets of LA, a part of the culture, adapted to everything that the culture presented, and had a business mind. And then he started to put out music. Now, he doesn't have the catalog as everybody else that I have, but he has songs that have major impact. So with the street impact, the music impact, and then his impact across the world before and during and after his death. That's why he's in my top 5.
Okay. That is a great pick for number 5. Let me ask a piggyback question before I give you my 5th. If you had to pick one, what's your favorite Nipsey song? If you had to pick one.
Blue Laces. I might have to go with Blue Laces.
Okay. Okay.
I might have to go with blue. I might have to go with Blue Laces. Change the
Okay.
weather. We'll see there because there's a lot of songs I like on this mixtape. He obviously he doesn't have. He only has one album,
Right.
right? Um, but there's a lot of other songs that stand out. But I'm gonna have to go with Blue Laces.
Okay. 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 Man, that is a great pick for number five. Um, I normally don't bend the rules, but it's my podcast. I'm gonna bend the rules. Baylor, anytime I do a list or something like that, I never have a tie, but I have a tie for number five.
Okay.
All right. So my first part of number five is the game.
Okay.
Um, this dude, again, his not even so much as his discography, but the wave that he came in on, like he was in your face, he was brash. He really reminded me like of the early to mid, well, I say mid to late 80s kind of rappers, but his whole style and swag and what he was rapping about. And I know people got on him about name dropping and stuff like that. It didn't bother me as much. But those first two albums, man, I mean, like I played the hell out of them albums, man. I couldn't stop. And I mean, obviously he had Dre's cosign, so that made him even more popular. But just the overall way that he came into the game and his approach and where rap was for the West. He says he brought it back. I don't necessarily know that it ever left, but if it was here, he took it here. He took it to another level. And what cats couldn't dispute was that he was lyrical, particularly on those first couple of albums. Like Game was giving you bars, and he wasn't, even though he was with 50 and those guys, he wasn't one of those guys who was a West Coast guy that try to sound like he was from the East Coast because he was being produced by 50 and M and all of these guys like that. He kind of, at least from me, from where I stood, he stayed true to his roots.
Yeah.
So I had Game at 5, and the other half of number 5 was Nipsey. That's why I kind of chuckled when you said Nipsey. I was late on Nipsey, and I mentioned this on the podcast before. I was late on this dude. I heard him, but I didn't hear him really until Victory Lap came out. Because once I started listening to Victory, I was like, yo, like what was I missing? Like, why didn't I hear? Because here's the thing, like one of the first songs that I heard him on was a Ninth Wonder beat on Ninth Wonder's album. And I was like, okay, this dude is nice. Like because I had heard about his reputation. I'd heard about the fact that, he was selling a mixtape for $100. I was like, man, who the hell is buying $100 mixtape? And then, when Jay-Z gave him the cosign, that a lot of times for rap fans is something that's very key, is when an OG or somebody else established in the game gives you a cosign and say, hey, this guy's dope or this girl is dope, and then you get along with it. But yeah, man, once I heard Victory Lap, then I went back to Crenshaw. And I was like, damn, where was I when this shit came out? Like, I'm like, what was I doing? Where was I? But I mean, like, even now, like yesterday, man, I was just riding around. I just put Crenshaw on and I just hit shuffle. Yeah. Just let it play. I just let it play.
That's a cold project.
Yeah, man. It is. And I keep going back and forth between that and Victory Lap because Victory Lap was my first true introduction. But even like when I'm hearing songs or features that he's had with other people, I'm still impressed, man. I'm still like, damn, like I wish I'd got on earlier, but I'm glad that I got him when I got him, and it's unfortunate, obviously rest in peace that he's no longer here. And that was another thing too. In his death, I didn't realize he was that major to so many people. Like I was telling my son, like I said, nobody else you don't get to die and then they have your funeral at the Staples Center. Like
only him and Michael Jackson.
That's it, and
and he got a street name, you know what I'm saying? He got a street name there for him.
Exactly. Yeah. Exactly. So I mean, like, that type of stuff doesn't happen. And I'm even more impressed the more and more I listen to, especially when I hear stuff that I haven't heard before. But yeah, I got him at 5. I probably say my favorite Nipsey track. Now that's hard for me. Damn, I'm gonna probably say Last Time That I Checked.
That get the party hype.
It give me hype every time, man. Yeah. It give me hype every time. Him and YG, come on, man.
Yeah, I get the party hype. But
Come
I
on.
mean, you're not the only one that I've heard a lot of people, but I was also surprised after his death about people from Detroit and Miami, and it seemed like it was a lot of places on the East Coast and the Midwest that just came out of nowhere. But
Mm-hmm.
I can't be that. I can't say that I'm that surprised because he was doing a lot of work that we would hear about that the average person wouldn't hear about. You know what
Right.
I'm
Right.
saying? So when the situation that happened, when they asked, well, how could he get caught on his own turf like that?
Mm-hmm.
I'm saying, man, because he was going to these cats' hoods without bodyguards.
Right.
That how authentic can you be? You know what I'm saying? And it's not like he was going to the which was once called the enemies. He was going and shaking and breaking bread with them.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? And it's kind of he was supposed to meet with the chief of police that day. You know what I mean? To talk about the
Crazy.
gang violence in the streets and stuff like that. They don't know about the civil war between the 6 O's and the 8 trays. They
Mm.
don't know that that's the biggest war we've had since the beginning of time.
Wow.
That's our World War One in a
Wow.
way. You know what I'm saying? So when you had all of them on the same street celebrating, you know what I'm
Mm-hmm.
saying? It's like so to put him at 5 is not a surprise. It's not a
Yeah.
surprise. He is LA.
Yeah.
He is the epitome of LA.
I think so too. I think that's the thing that really impressed me, even in his death. Like I didn't know. I knew he was big. I didn't know he was that big. Like it you're right. He definitely put on, and the messages. And you know what? It was weird, man. Was like I remember one day. You know how YouTube is set up. YouTube is a rabbit hole. I
Hmm.
clicked on one video. He was like on the Breakfast Club or something. Maybe not. It might have been Hot 97 or something like that. And it was only a 4 minute clip, and then the rest were Nipsey. I mean, I spent like the next hour watching video after video, and I mean, like he was dropping science,
Yeah.
dropping knowledge to everybody about all the stuff he was doing. So yeah, he definitely, if for his impact alone, I definitely had to put him in my top 5. Like I said, I normally don't do ties, but he in game for different reasons. I had him at 5.
I
Let's move.
respect. I respect it, but I do want to say this about
Go ahead.
Game.
Go ahead. Go ahead.
Game will always be in the West Coast Hall of Fame. You know what I mean? But respectfully, Game was supposed to be who Nipsey was
Okay.
to us. And he did bring the West Coast back. But he brought a portion of it back. He brought
Mm,
LA back because
mm,
the Bay Area was already popping.
okay.
They were already popping. And to say LA, I know I can hear all the Compton natives yelling and stuff like that. Compton is not LA, and they will tell you that. But outside of LA, Compton is LA. So
Right.
he brought LA back. You know what I mean? So,
So okay, so before we go to 4, quick question. So is there a difference? I'm sure we can't tell because we're not from, but is there a difference in the sound between
no,
a rapper from
no,
Compton or Watts? Okay, okay.
no. LA rap, Long Beach. Well, I would say this: Long Beach has more of a soulful
Okay.
more bounce to it,
Okay.
but it's still considered. It's all under the LA umbrella.
Gotcha.
But you
Gotcha.
do have Long Beach is Long Beach, Compton is Compton. Then you got Watts and Inglewood.
Mm-hmm.
But nah, man. If we go out of state and we start talking and we start saying words with an R in it, we from LA. We start saying water. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Very distinct dialect. All right. So number 4, who you got it for?
I had to switch it around.
Okay.
I remember it's Pac. Pac is at number 4. Pac is at number 4 because Pac, for one, that dropped him down because he's not originally from the West Coast.
Mm-hmm.
But not only did his career start over here, we adopted him on both sides,
Mm-hmm.
the Bay and LA. You know what I mean? So before he even got to LA, he was in the Bay Area. You know what I mean? And then he came down here and he adopted the West Coast in a real way. Like it's a lot of cats that come over here and just use our low riders and use our women and stuff like that. But no, I mean, like if you didn't have his birth certificate, or if he didn't talk about it, you would think he was from the West Coast. You know what I
Mhm.
mean? And then even then, Pac had his own sound.
He
Pac
did.
didn't sound like a West Coast artist. He just rapped over West Coast over West Coast beats, and he had this West Coast aura too. I mean, he represented the West Coast. Um, and the only reason why I can't have him up there is because I think Nip and Pac is in the same vein,
Okay.
but Nip didn't put out as much projects as Pac.
Right.
Was not long enough. And I also think I ain't gonna say I know, but I have heard Nip talk about Pac before. He also looked up to Pac.
Yeah.
And
No
one thing you
question.
know, and one thing those two cats got in common is that uh, they were impactful in such a short time. You know what I
Facts.
mean? And
1000.
with that being said, Pac was the teacher. You know what I mean? And I don't look at Pac as an East Coast artist or necessarily just a West Coast artist. I look at him as one of the best hip hop artists of all time.
Mhm.
And if I had to, I'll strip a city or a region or a state off of him and just that's just Pac.
Mhm.
You know what I mean? So that, but at the same time, we know California Love. Pac is at number 4 for me.
Oh yeah. Okay. Okay. Favorite Pac song.
Who do you believe in?
Ooh. Okay.
Yeah,
Okay.
I get lost in that song.
Yeah, man. That's a jam. That's a jam right there.
Either that, I mean, I got nothing to lose. I love nothing to lose. It's a lot of B sides when it comes to
Oh
Pac.
yeah. Oh yeah. And he has so much music. Like you said, unlike Nip, he didn't get a chance to really get there. Um man, okay. My four the best way I can describe my four and my three may flip flop at some point.
Mhm.
Um, at four, I have Kendrick Lamar.
Okay.
Um, this dude lyrically is out of here. Um, I think if he keeps on this same trajectory, he can go where no other. I mean, we already know as far as popularity and as far as record sales and stuff like that, he's going to do numbers. That goes without saying. But just his what he's doing sonically, if you listen to him lyrically, I mean, really, there's a case that he could be higher on most people's list. Um, but this dude, man, he is one of my favorites. He's my favorite current rapper right now.
Mhm.
And he's been my favorite current since he's been out. I love what he's about. I love the fact that he does not hide where he's from. He wears it as a badge of honor. Um, and he's not afraid to push the limit on what he does in the booth.
Mhm.
If you listen to his songs, none of them, like even his vocal tones, don't even sound the same. On you go listen to Good Kid, Mad City. You go listen to Pimp a Butterfly. To Pimp a Butterfly, I think is about as close to as perfect an album. Just my opinion, is about as close to as perfect an album as you can have in today's society.
Mhm.
I think the thing is his vocal inflection, his messages, images, and all of that stuff that he's doing, man. Kendrick is out of here. I struggle putting him at four. I'm gonna be honest, because Baylor. I could make a case that he could be a lot higher than what he is. I constantly flip flop between him and who I'm gonna name for number three. He can definitely pass three, and he's got a shot at 2 and 1. I'll just put it like he's number four with a bullet, as they used to say back in the day. Um, favorite song? Damn, that's tough, man. Because Section 80, up until he made To Pimp a Butterfly, Section 80 is my favorite album from Kendrick.
A lot of look, a lot of people that actually listen to music say
Yes,
that.
and there's no knock on Good Kid, Mad City. I love Good Kid, Mad City. In fact, there's going to be a podcast breaking down Good Kid, Mad City because it's going to celebrate, I think, 10 years later this year, in November, I think. But damn, it's hard for me to. Braylor, I may have to go to. I may have to go. I may have to come back to that. I want to say one or two, man, but it's like it just depends on my mood, man. I mean, because like when I put on Section 80, it's all the way through. When I put on Good Kid, Mad City, it's all the way through. When I listen to Pimp a Butterfly, it's all the way through. Damn, most of it I'm going through. This new album, I'm still digesting it. It's still a cold ass album. I mean, he hasn't missed to me.
Yeah, yeah, and his visuals.
Yes,
and his visuals.
Crazy.
I would just say when I get to him, then I'll let you know.
So that means he's on the list. So yeah, man. Kendrick is K-Dot is he's crazy, man. I love that dude, man. I think the sky's the limit. And he's one of those few artists, man, that I think of today where you could put him in any era of hip hop and he would have been fine. I really do. I really do.
Yeah, he's that guy. He's that Kung Fu Kenny.
That's him. That's him, man. That's him. He represents the city well.
Yeah, he does. He does.
And the coast.
Yeah. Where we at? Number 3?
Yeah, you at 3.
That's Uncle Snoop. That's Uncle Snoop at 3.
Yes.
You know what I'm saying? You got to have Long Beach on the list. And when I tell you a game changer, when Dre brought him out with this big old afro, when I seen him on the handlebars, I'm like, yo, who is? And he all of what, 6'6", 6'7". I'm like, man, like he changed the whole game. And
let it be known.
From the gate, he was loved by everyone. So how you said, you got caught by your aunt listening to Eazy-E, and he was saying this, that, and the third, and was like, nah, we can't have this. Now, Snoop out the gate, a lot of older people was liking Snoop out the gate. My mom's, one of her favorite tracks of all time, may she rest in peace, was America's Most Wanted.
Yes.
And she loves Snoop, dog. Like, but everybody does.
Yeah, man.
Everybody does. Like, he will probably be the highest ranked uncle to everybody forever. Just the coolest cat. I mean, this is the only he crip walk during the Super Bowl in the city of Inglewood, which people still haven't caught that. They still don't.
I didn't know that until you pointed that out to me. I think we talked about it via text. You was like, you won't believe he crip walk in Inglewood. And I was like, okay, was that? And then you explained why that was significant. I was like, word? I was like, oh, okay.
Yeah. For the listeners out there, Inglewood is predominantly a blood city historically. So, and that's where the Rams and the Chargers play and stuff like that. So for him to be on the big stage and highlight to me, which was a top 5 dance of all time.
Yes.
That was just crazy. And then they had pictures and stuff of him smoking backstage, and it's like, but that's Snoop. Like, at this point, we can't be surprised. He has the most random commercials out of anybody. You know what I mean? He's still putting out projects. He has collaboration with Martha Stewart. You know what I'm saying? And his voice lyrically. Like he's had that. To me, that career is kind of like, I want to say like Tim Duncan-ish. You know what I'm saying? Like he had a very great long career. You know what I'm saying? So yeah, Snoop at number 3 for me.
Okay. You got a favorite Snoop song?
Gin and Juice. What?
Okay.
What? And that video might be top 5. It might be top 5, man. But I never, because when you feed the people that you were around that helped you get there, and I'm not saying that I actually helped him get to where he was at, but when you display our culture as authentic as you did, dog, you know how many times I've seen cats getting their hair braided on the steps? You know how many times I've written on the handlebars? You know what I'm saying? All of that, the homies coming in and just walking up to my room. I'm not even ready yet. I'm not even dressed all the way. Like, we waiting outside for you. Like, yeah, man, that was, and he from Long Beach. Long Beach and LA is 2 different places.
Tell
but
them.
it's still under
Tell
the
them, bro.
umbrella.
Tell them. Tell
Yeah,
them. Tell them. Yeah, because people don't know. Like it ain't, and they're not. I mean, they're not relatively. They're not far away, but they're not relatively close either.
they not far. I'll put it to you like this: this is why we consider everything under one umbrella, because
Mm-hmm.
it's not like New York where the boroughs are so far apart.
Mm-hmm.
We're actually way closer than those boroughs. You know what I mean? You can get on
Mm-hmm.
the freeway with traffic. It might take you maybe 30, 45 minutes to get from Long Beach, depending on where you at. You know what I mean? But Long Beach and LA and Compton, Long Beach and Compton is right next to each other.
Yep.
You know what I'm
Yep.
saying? Watts and Inglewood and all these cities like that, they're not too far away from each other.
Mm-hmm.
They're a couple of streets, make the wrong turns, you'll be there.
Yeah, you don't want to make the wrong turn.
Yeah, but I think it's easier for them to understand and know that you got to learn about the gang culture to understand the difference
Facts.
between the cities and the streets and stuff like that. Trust me, if you're not from out here, go down that rabbit hole. It'll at least take you 2 to 3 years to understand it all.
Right.
I'm from here, 39 years. I don't even understand it all, but I understand it.
Hey, I really don't understand it. I used to think when somebody said somebody was crip walking, I thought like when their feet movement, they were spelling out the name of their gang in the ground. That's what I thought it was when
They
somebody
did
at
that
least
too. They did
yeah,
that too.
that's what they but and that's what it was explained to me. And they was like, no, that ain't necessarily the case. Crip walk could be this. I was like, okay,
No, it didn't
I'm
come.
listening.
It really didn't become commercial until probably the late '90s, early 2000s,
Mm-hmm.
maybe. And that was because it was such a popular dance and it was
Yeah.
dope. But if you're not from LA and you knew how to do that dance, if you did that at a house party or in the club, bro, you got to chill out. You know what I'm saying? Because they used to spell a hood out. They used to cross cast hoods out, and it's look. Now it's commercial though.
Right,
It's
right,
it's a
right.
it's a commercial dance. Everybody know how to do it and things like that. But no, like, a lot of Crips would tell you, dog, if you ain't no Crip, don't you know what
Yeah,
I'm
don't
saying?
do it. Don't do
And if the Bloods don't recognize you, they're gonna assume you're a Crip because you're over here Crip walking. And even if they know you're not gang banging, you did the Crip walk. That's disrespectful to them. So
Exactly.
they're gonna beat you up. So
Exactly. Exactly. And you like you said, you got to know the culture, man. You got to know the culture.
yeah,
Three for me is gonna be Pac.
okay.
Some people might have him placed higher. I said I've kind of flip flop between him and Kendrick. Um, he's obviously solidified where he is. Kendrick, I think, is way more lyrical, but Pac's impact, I can make it, and I've said this on before on other podcasts, and I won't be I'll be remiss if I didn't repeat it. I can make a case that Tupac is the most influential rapper, period. Not
Oh,
just on the West
absolutely.
Coast, not just on the East, just period ever. Um, to have lived through that era in which Pac had his run, and like you mentioned earlier, Baylor, he was relatively young. Like Pac died at like 24, and
Mhm.
his time frame in music was only like maybe 4, maybe 5 years at that, if that. So he didn't have a whole bunch of time, but in the short period of time he had us, as far as like what he was able to give us creatively through his music, through acting, so forth and so on, was incredible.
He did so much in a
In
short
very
amount of
short period
time.
of
If
time.
you listen to his music, watch his movies, listen to his interviews, know about his drama and things like that, you would think the man died in his 40s.
Right, right. And what's weird was when he died, like I didn't even think that he was 24. Like because at that particular time in the 90s, man, we didn't know how old people were. So it was just
I was in middle school.
I was in college. And September 13th, 1997, I mean 1996. I'll never forget that day. And I just remember, and I talked about it before in the podcast, like when he got shot, it was like, oh damn, Pac got shot again. But we thinking, okay, he's gonna be okay. And the last word that we got, because again, we didn't have the internet, the last word we got was that he was getting better and that he had talked or something like that, or and I don't know if that was true or not, if he ever came out of consciousness or whatever. But his impact was long lasting. And I don't think that I know we'll never see another Tupac again, but his impact was tremendous and it's still being felt to this day. There there's so many rappers that came after him that they can't say that they're not from Tupac's tree. Every artist has a tree. Some are from a tree, and some are just branches themselves that you can branch off from. And a lot of people branched off from the Tupac tree. And yeah, man, it's crazy. It's crazy. My favorite Tupac song, I gotta say, "Ambitions of a Rider," man. I mean that it get me every time, man.
Ooh-wee.
It gets me every time. It gets me every time.
You know that infamous story. That's when he got released and
Mm-hmm.
went straight to the studio with Daz. That's a Daz beat right there.
Yep. Yep. Shout out to
Oh,
Daz.
I
Crazy
said
beat
that.
making.
Hey, when that come on, like you got to understand the reason why Pac will always be ranked. He moves your blood pressure.
Mm-hmm.
Him, DMX. These are certain cats that get you ready for war.
Yes.
And there's it's peace, total peace outside. You turn on Ambition as a writer, you are ready to fight.
Yes.
Okay,
Oh,
like
always.
oh my god, man. Yeah,
Yeah, man.
yeah.
Yeah,
No,
that
but
that
I like how you said like there is a tree that he created, and a lot of rappers branched off of that. But I will say this: only to me, only one rapper branched off, and they cut that fruit short. And that was Nip. I think a lot.
okay.
I think it was a lot of. I think it was a lot of artists that branched off of them. They ended up being bad fruit, but
Mm.
not Nip.
Okay. You get no argument from me. What you got at number two?
K Dot.
Ooh, okay.
K Dot is the first MC to call out the East Coast and calling himself the king of New York at the same time. Okay. Nobody wants that problem. The only person that kind of like nitpick at him was the Canada guy. You know what I mean? And he know
Canada
better.
Dry.
Yeah, and he knows better. But outside of that, I know him and Big Sean kind of squashed it or whatever. But nobody wants problems with him.
Mm-mm.
Nobody wants problems with him. And when I tell you he literally came out of nowhere, I'm talking about literally came out of nowhere. But him and Nip name was kind of bubbling at the same time out here.
Mm-hmm.
It's just that K Dot just took off. And the one thing that stands out about him, he doesn't sound like your everyday West Coast artist. You know
Facts.
what I mean? He doesn't make gangster rap, but he has gangster tales
Right.
inside of his rap.
Right.
And honestly, he can hold his own with just about anybody, past, present, or future. And the reason why I got him up there is because I think he has it. And to me, I'm a person that no longer believes in the best artist of all time.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
Why? Because Big died when he was young. Pac died when he was young. A lot of a lot of kids these days don't know who Rakim is. You know what I mean? So when we really start talking about who was in their bag and the best of all time,
Mm-hmm.
they not listening to King Disease 1 and 2 and understanding how that is
Facts.
a masterpiece so far apart from where he started with Nas. You know
Facts.
what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
And that's why. But I feel like you said, if K Dot was to continue to make music for the next, I don't know, 5 to 10 years, I think he can make a case for being on Mount Rushmore.
Yes.
You know what I mean? I don't necessarily like to use the I have to, but I don't. With him, is different. So they're going to bring up Jay Z, and they're going to
Right.
bring up
Right.
mostly what he's done outside of hip hop, and then what he did for hip hop. You know what I'm
Right.
saying? That's what we talk
Facts.
about nowadays: is what you can accumulate outside of hip hop.
Mm-hmm.
That is unmatched because he's the one that came from our era and lasted the longest, besides Nas. You know what I mean? We bring up the other two. The other two are gone, and they've been gone. You know
Yep.
what I mean? I think K Dot is the problem child that those four pretty much created.
Yes.
And if he can continue to go, I think he could be the best ever.
Yeah, man. You get an argument from me. That's why I said like he's moving. He's on my list at 4, but he's moving steadily up the chart. And I don't think at this rate he's not showing any signs of slowing down. And the thing that I try to tell people is that what's impressive to me about him is that he's not in a rush.
Mm-mm.
He definitely has been influenced by the people that came before him because he'll put an album out, he'll tour that album, and then he'll chill. You're not
Yeah,
gonna see him on a whole bunch of mixtapes. You're not gonna see him at a bunch of shows. when he's touring, you better catch him because it might be another 2 or 3 years before the next album comes, which is honestly, man, that's how it used to be. That's how it probably should be. That way you don't oversaturate yourself. For as great as I think Lil Wayne is, Lil Wayne's run probably ended because people got tired of Lil Wayne because he was on every damn song. He was on every song on the radio. He was on every song on the mixtape. And we understand why he was doing it. And he was really the hottest dude in the game. I mean, now people say Drake, but same for Drake. After a while, people get tired of you. But K-Dot's not around enough for you to get tired of him. When he has something to say, he's gonna have something to say, and it's gonna be dope. And yeah, you get no argument from me, man.
He got a song called Auntie Diaries. My auntie is a man now. And that's my favorite song on that album.
Okay. Wow.
Because of the production alone. Mm-hmm. When I first heard that album, just listened to it all the way through, it got to Auntie Diaries. I ain't even gonna lie. I was barely paying attention to it. Mm-hmm. Then like a minute and a half, I forgot the mark, but this sound just started coming in, and I'm like, yo, this sounds phenomenal. Yo, what is it? And then I started listening to it like, his auntie is a man now. And I'm like, and then his cousin Dimitri. Yo, like, man, I understand this is the wrong era to drop that type of project.
Right.
Because they don't understand. And they didn't grow up in the 90s where if your auntie did like women, it was kind of like taboo.
Right.
You know what I mean? You know what I'm saying? So, and then he tied it back around. A lot of people don't remember when he let that white girl on stage and spit them bars and she said the word. And they don't remember that.
I remember.
You know what I'm saying? So,
I remember that.
Hey, man, K-Dot is at number 2.
All right, you got a favorite K-Dot song? Because I just thought of mine. My favorite K-Dot song. I got to go back to Section 80. I got to go back to the joint that always got me going. That was Rigor Mortis.
Okay. I can't. Come on, man. I can't be mad at that.
It just when he starts flowing, man, that's crazy. And then I watched the video. I was like, man, this dude is out of here.
And that's another thing. He has a lot of my favorite song, and that's why I wanted to get it. I thought about changing it, but I can't because I also like the video that's attached to it.
Okay.
If These Walls Could Talk.
Come on.
That song is so smooth. You could play that just about anywhere. Oh my God, that song feels good. That song feels damn good. But you got a video of that too. If These Walls Could Talk.
Oh, for sure, man. I love that joint, man. Again, that whole album, it and it's something that I still constantly listen to. And the dope thing I love about that album, man, which is, especially with Kendrick's music, is that I'm still picking up on stuff each listen. So like even when I listen to the current album, I'm listening to, I'm like, oh damn, I didn't catch that. I didn't hear that drum, or I didn't hear that bar, or I didn't understand what he meant by that because maybe I was washing dishes when I was listening to it and I wasn't really into, like you said, into the song or what have you. But yeah, man, Kendrick at number 2, no argument from me. Because
and let me just say this, I'm simple. Go ahead. I'm simple when it comes to I'm simple when it comes to bars, right? I love Jadakiss is in my all-time top 5, like non-biased. And that's because bars alone. But I'm okay with what people complain about when it comes to K-Dot. And that is he has a lot of Easter eggs. He got a lot of things that will go by. No, dog. If you're a real fan of hip-hop, if you're a real fan of K-Dot, take your ass to YouTube and go figure out what he was talking about. Then it all kind of makes sense. Then don't wait 5-10 years later, like, oh, now I get it.
I get it.
Nah. But if that's not your cup of tea, stop drinking it.
Yeah. And that's the thing. I think some fans are, I don't want to call them lazy, but like they're not used to being fed a nice, huge steak dinner. They're used to McDonald's. And don't get me wrong. If you like McDonald's, cool. But I've gotten past the point in my life where McDonald's could be dinner for me. It might be a snack. It might be something I could nibble on every now and then. But no, I want a nice steak dinner. And the great thing about a nice steak dinner is when you bite into that steak, no matter how many times you bite into it, you're still getting the juice. You're still getting you can
You
savor it.
finding out what ingredients is in it.
Exactly.
That's why I said when his auntie said faggot, 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 we can say it together, but only if you let that white girl say nigga. And niggas, they didn't know what they was talking about. He didn't know
Right.
it. Come on,
They
man.
missed that. It flew right over their head because I remember that. I remember that like it was yesterday when that chick
Yeah.
when he got that chick on stage. And that was a pivotal moment too in his ascension as an MC. But yeah, man, no argument for me at K Dot at 2. My number 2, gotta go with Snoop, man.
Okay,
Um,
okay. And you know what? I already know who number one
yeah,
is.
you
That
are.
is
I mean,
crazy. That
I
is
mean,
crazy.
yes. I when you said K Dot is at 2, I was like, okay, we probably got the same number 1. Yeah, man, Snoop, man, that Snoop is hard. It's going to be really interesting how we explain who Snoop was, how he went from being on trial for murder
Yeah.
and
Murder was the case that they gave me.
being doing shows with Martha Stewart and um commercials. The commercial that's out now, I love that. That's my favorite commercial.
Yeah.
Um,
The beef he had with Suge Knight.
yeah,
You know what I'm
and
saying?
then burying that, all up under Dre's tutelage, and then striking out on his own, going to Master P
The No
and
Limit
No Limit,
Run.
and
Yeah.
then and then coming back and doing his own thing, and just, I mean, Snoop is a household name now. I mean, like the dude went from Doggy Style to being a household name, and my love affair for Snoop started with that album. I just remember Baylor, man. It was when I say it was crazy. I always tell the story, man. I went to the Prince of Orange Mall in Orangeburg, South Carolina, where I was at school at South Carolina State to get the album. Baylor, they moved the album up. The album's supposed to come out on Tuesday. They pushed it up to Friday because like it was about to get bootlegged. So for kids at home, if your album got bootlegged, that meant like a copy of it made it to the streets. And if the streets got it, then people would dub it, and the artist would lose out on sales. Man, I'll go to the Prince of Orange Mall, Baylor, because the store had closed and it was going to open up at midnight just to sell the Snoop Dogg record, the Doggy Style album. I get there at 11:30. Baylor, the keep in mind this is at the mall. The mall is closed. The record store is about to open, but there's already a line in the mall out the door into the parking lot at 11:30 for a store that's going to open up at midnight. And here's the thing, folks. If you did not buy that album the day that it came out, you walked around for the next week and a half to 2 weeks without the album, and everybody else had it.
Yeah. And you felt ashamed having the bootleg. You know what I'm saying?
Yes.
And I'm not gonna lie to you. It's not like we felt bad for the artists that was bootleg because we didn't. We didn't. But we still supported them in some type of way.
Right.
But if you had the blank CD and it had Snoop Dogg on it, you felt bad because you didn't have the authentic one. You know what I mean? But that's what it was, man. That was the culture back then.
Yeah, man. It was crazy. I just remember, man, everybody had to have that. And I was fortunate enough that, by the time I got in the store and bought it, I was probably about, I don't know, 30 people down or whatever. But it was incredible, man. His run has just been amazing. And he's shown no signs of slowing down, acting, doing game shows. I mean, Snoop is everywhere. Like I said, he's a household name. And I mean, like, this dude when he came out, he was just really, you could have never predicted this. No, even Snoop on his wildest dreams would have ever predicted this. But he's been that dude, man, for a long time, man. And he's, like you say, he's everybody's favorite uncle,
Yep.
and cool, just cool. And like you said, long represent Long Beach. And when you talk about Long Beach MCs having that flow and that soul, that's what his music was, man. That's what his music is.
Yeah.
Favorite, damn. Whew. The Shiznit.
Okay.
Man, listen.
Okay.
I could just start rapping that.
Yeah.
I mean,
that's how I feel. That's how I feel about Jen and G. As soon as I hear that, I'm like, what?
Yes, yes, yes. So what you got at number one, man?
You already know, man. The Don Mega, Mr. Ye
Facts.
Ye
Mm-hmm.
himself.
Mm-hmm.
Um, so many reasons.
Ice Cube for those of you at home.
If I had to, if I had to compare myself to a rapper, it would probably be Ice Cube. Why?
Okay.
Because again, he was born into the gang culture, but he was wise enough and smart enough. Not saying that the other cats weren't, we because the gang culture was a way of living. It was a
Mm-hmm.
way of life out here. But he played it to where, yo, nah, I'm cool on both sides. Enter West Side Connection. You know what I
Yes.
mean? The comrades. You know what I mean? Like it was just it was just a smart move. Like he was in between both of the flags. You know what I'm
Mm-hmm.
saying? Cash knew he was, and he messed with both of the flags. But when I tell you this was one of the best gangster political rappers of all time, I mean, for God's sakes, he got an album called America's Most Wanted with
America's
three
Most
K's
Wanted.
in it. You know what
Yes.
I mean? Lethal Injection, The Predator. I think I'm talking about of all time, I'm talking including the East Coast and cats from the South. I think Kanye. Some people say Kanye has a four-peat. I'm not gonna argue that. I say he has an official three-peat.
Yeah.
To me, K Dot has a four-peat, 4 albums in a row, and I
Mm-hmm.
think Cube has a four-peat. You know what I
Man,
mean?
listen.
So, and then we don't even want to go. We don't even want to go outside the booth. You know what I mean? With the big three, Friday.
Friday.
You know what I mean? Like
Are we
it's just
there yet?
oh, we there yet? All about the Benjamins, like just movies in
And the
general.
Straight Outta Compton movie.
Straight out of Compton. He put his son on. His son is making a name for
Oh my
himself.
gosh,
You know what I
man.
mean? So Ice Cube is just yeah. Yeah, and I mean, I always giggle at the whole when they put Ice Cube and Ice T, and they say, "What is this?" like, like Ice T with Ice Cubes in it. But yeah, no, Ice Cube, and to me, I think Ice Cube should go along with. I don't want to discuss the rest of my Mount Rushmore,
Mhm.
but I think Ice Cube should be up there.
Oh, no question. No
This
question. I
this
mean,
this, this is one of the cats who was a part of a legendary group, wrote for them,
yep.
dissed them, and arguably a top three diss track of all
Ain't
time.
no top three. If it's top three, it's number one for me.
I know,
It
yeah,
ain't even
yeah,
close.
yeah. I know. It's a lot of votes for hit 'em up.
It,
So,
but well, here's my thing about hit him up. Pac used other people. Like he brought the outlet. Like if me and you fighting, we fighting. We don't
that's
need your wife to jump in, your kids to jump in. We don't need nobody. We don't need. We supposed to square up man to man. So Pac, he hit him up was a posse diss track. I ain't for that.
yeah,
And
yeah,
that's not to take away. Pac's verse was lethal. Don't get me wrong, but I never have dinner with the president. I
yeah,
never have dinner with the president. I never
right,
have dinner with the president. And when I see your ass again, I'll be hesitant.
yeah.
I mean, come on,
Yelling
man.
Compton, but you move to
Move to
Riverside.
Riverside.
And if y'all don't know the look, I
Hey.
stay not too long from Riverside. Very beautiful place.
It is.
Very
It
beautiful.
is. It
Uh,
is.
yeah, cute man. That's my guy all time.
Yeah, man. And it's funny you mentioned that because my wife is originally from Compton, but when I first met her, her parents were living out in Moreno Valley.
Mm,
And so I was like, so I came out in 96 to see her and for Christmas break. And so that was my first Christmas away from my family, whatever like that. And my second time in LA. And that verse didn't mean much until I saw how far Riverside was from college. Like, damn, this is like worlds away, really.
mm. And Moval is even further.
Right,
Yeah.
right. And I flew into LAX. I was like, damn,
Oh
this is
wow,
yeah,
that
I
was a
know, right?
trip.
Yeah, so it's a trip. But yeah, my number one is Ice Cube too, man. I figure we probably have this guy at both at number one. It's all for the same reasons you mentioned, man. Cube is just that America's Most Wanted and Death Certificate. Those two albums.
That's certificate.
Death Certificate might be the blackest, pro-blackest album you would ever want to hear. And
Yeah.
he put it out in a time where being pro-black really wasn't cool to do. And
Was
when
that
you got
did that come out the same year as the program?
program came out. You mean the movie, the program?
Yeah,
Good question. I'm not sure. They came out around the same time.
around the
I
same
think yeah,
time,
around
right?
the same time. But America's Most one of my favorite. I make the case, at least for my personal top 10, Ice Cube the MC is in my top 10. I
Hmm.
don't think that's without question. You can name off all these other top 10 MCs that you got. I will make a case that Ice Cube should be in everybody's top 10. Um, like you said, the longevity. He's still making music. He doesn't have to, but his impact in Hollywood, all of that stuff. But when it comes down to just rapping, man, Ice Cube still can rap circles around you. I mean, like it ain't even funny. And um, let me see, favorite. That's tough, man. Favorite Ice Cube song. Because here's the thing. The thing that people have to understand is that Ice Cube was a member of NWA. He was an integral part of NWA. And he left NWA at a time, obviously, that we found out later for contractual reasons. But he left NWA at a time where it wasn't cool for a rapper to leave a group. If you were in a group, it's almost like a gang. You in there for life. You don't leave the group. I mean, yeah, that happened in R&B. That happened to the Supremes. That happened in New Edition. You could leave a group, but you couldn't leave a rap group. And this was the world's most dangerous group, NWA. And Ice Cube was like, "No, I'm good. I'm going solo." And so Baylor, we had no idea what a solo album from Ice Cube would even look like, what it would even sound like. And then when they dissed them, we was like, oh, we honestly, we young and impressionable kids, we think they gonna kill Ice Cube. We like, oh, they gonna get him. It's like he's gonna roll up and smoke him.
Especially what he was talking about.
Right.
And my apologies. My apologies. I got the movies mixed up. It's not the program, although that's a classic. I was talking about Higher Learning, but no, they're 4 years apart.
Okay.
They're 4 years apart. But I would say that image that he had in that movie, that character, reflects how the death certificate was.
It really was. I mean, a man created a song called "Burn Hollywood Burn."
Oh, man.
And he was on a song called "Burn Hollywood Burn." I mean, like Ice Cube was and is West Coast hip hop. He is LA. When he came with West Side Connection at a time where, while it was unifying the West, that was kind of risque because the East and West were quote unquote beefing, but you know what? He took his West Coast flag and planted it in the ground, and he wasn't afraid to stand on it, and he wasn't backing down. He didn't diss anybody. He just, West Side Connection was more or less about his love for his side of the coast.
Well, he had a couple of run-ins,
Yeah.
comment, he had
Oh yeah, I mean, that happens.
Cypress Hill, you know what I mean?
I never understood the Cypress Hill joint. I never understood that.
I think from what they said, it's always three stories. It's his story, their story, and then the actual truth.
Right.
But I think it was all just some misunderstanding, and not Pac, but Cube had, took an idea from them or something like that.
Okay. That. Yeah, man. But I got Cube at one. Probably my favorite song. Damn. I'm gonna go with "Once Upon a Time in the Projects."
That's mine. That is mine.
Yeah, man.
Oh my God, that's crazy. I could ever since we started with Nip, I'm like, once we get the Cube, I'm gonna tell him what's about her, because I just told you my favorite albums from him. But War and Peace was one of my favorites too. And I had both of them, and somebody stole the War one. I don't know.
There's always somebody gonna steal your albums.
Yeah, somebody stole it, man. That's crazy. And I remember that. I remember going to buy that. Yes, I went to go buy my album.
There you go.
And I remember going to the mall, and I went to a certain mall because it was an electronic, I think it was called Electronic Boutique or something like that. But it was a store that basically sold albums and things like that. And I also went to go get a video game. So I went to go get Knockout Kings. I went to go get Knockout Kings that year. War and Peace, and the Damu Riders. Yeah, yeah. Now that's the little too West Coast right there. Too. All right, and I
I
did.
remember them.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I did. I got the Domo Riders before I got the Crit ones. Uh, if y'all want a little bit of history, YouTube has it all. Banging on
Mhm.
Wax. If y'all
Banging
want
on
that
wax.
too,
Yep.
yeah, yeah. It get deep, but oh yeah, once upon a time in the projects,
I
yo.
mean, come on, man. That storytelling that is back.
Hey, yelling through the screen though. Hey, let me in. Big Daddy got it 50 gin and down the sin.
Man,
Man,
listen.
come on. That's my favorite song of all time, dog. Oh my God. And he's one of the best storytellers of all time.
Yes. I mean, he is that song epitomizes what I thought storytelling is, because it's like he goes through his whole thing by everything that he sees, and he's with this chick, and he was at the end, he's like, bitch, I didn't know this was a crack house.
Yo, and I every time I listen to that song, I picture everything happening. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
When he was ready to plan his mistake,
Yep.
when the baby daddy came back, he
He
started
said,
laying everybody down
what set
about
you
face with a
claiming?
frown. Come on, man.
What what set you claiming? I don't bang upright. I can see him like, I don't bang upright the good rhymes. The whole scenery reminded me of good times. I
Yeah.
mean, like, come on, man. Yeah, Ice Cube, man. That dude, man. He'll like I said, he's at one. K Dot, if he keeps it up, he's got a shot at it. But he's got a ways to go to top that. Snoop, but they are within his range. I think K Dot, if he keeps this up, they're within his range.
And I want to say this for people that say that your top five has to change. I'm cool with that, but
Mm-hmm.
it doesn't.
Nah,
And I'm gonna tell you why. Because history is history. You know what I'm saying? There'll never be another Barry Sanders.
nope.
And the closest thing, me personally, the closest thing that we ever got to Barry Sanders was Reggie Bush to me. You know what I mean?
Facts.
And so it's like, even though Reggie Bush will never be as great as Barry Sanders, he's probably in some people top five running backs of all time. You
Mm-hmm.
know what I mean? I personally don't have Emmitt Smith in my top five, but I know he's a top five worthy running back.
Right, right,
You know,
right.
what I'm saying? History is history. If you just want to keep them there because of where they started, yo, it just so happened that K Dot was born too late.
That's
Or
it.
it just so happened that Ice Cube was born way back in the day. So, and that's
Mm-hmm.
just how it is. On being on my show, 12 Cal about the sports show, I told you that my whole thing with history.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying? I respect history. You know what I'm saying? So if a basketball player back in the day, he broke the record of averaging 28 points a game, but then you got Michael Jordan coming through. You know what
Mm-hmm.
I'm saying? I can understand. I can understand, but he still holds that record for that time period.
Right.
He holds it, who knows until the next person comes up. But to me,
Mm-hmm.
if you were able to reach a top five status in your career at one point, I think you should be able to stay there. I think you should be able, and it's okay with saying, like, yo, no, Jay Z is up here, or Nas is up here, Big is up here, Pac is up here. Like, all of them dudes are number one worthy to me.
Mm-hmm.
All of them are number one worthy.
Facts.
Because right now, to tell you the truth, Jay wouldn't be number one, or Nas wouldn't be considered number one if everybody had a fair chance and everybody was still alive right now.
Right. Fact.
If everybody was alive right now and made the same amount of albums, I would love to see how y'all judge that.
Oh no, that'd be tough because somebody got to move.
Somebody got to move. And let me just tell you like this: I was never really early on. I was really never really a Nas fan.
Mhm.
I was a Nas fan later on,
Right.
but I always loved his first project. You know what I'm saying?
Mhm.
It ain't hard to tell is a top five song to me,
Mhm.
but his last two projects is undeniable, dog. Hit Boy wasn't born yet.
Right.
Hit Boy wasn't born yet, but he came along and created a sound that meshed with Nas so good that if a Nas fan said Nas is the best ever, he absolutely is. But you know who
Mhm.
else is better? K Dot. You know who else is
Mhm.
as good as him? Jay-Z, or better,
Mhm.
depending on which day you want to wake up.
Yep.
All these cats are worthy of the number one spot to me. But if you give
Mhm.
these cats a fair chance and let them start from scratch, let's see who's gonna get up there.
Yeah,
because
this is a different ball game.
we already know how powerful Big was and Pac was.
Mm-hmm.
Just imagine you getting a album from a Pac or Big at age 30 or 35. The message that they will be talking about, the
Right.
production that they will be getting. You see what I'm saying? Like we didn't give them time, or we didn't give them time to grow.
Mm-hmm.
But their impact is greater than any of the impacts that of the artists that's still alive,
Mm-hmm.
and they know that the
Oh,
fans
no
know the
question.
difference. The fans know the difference.
No question.
So yeah, no.
No,
Shout out to you.
I'm with you. I'm with you. Yeah, I'm with you 1,000%. I mean, like we don't know what they could have been had they been around, and it's not their fault that they're no longer here. Um, but no, I'm with you 1,000%. We can people can go back and forth about what's number one or who should be in their top five, what have you. We just gave you our best five West Coast rappers. Before we get out of here, I thought for some reason I thought Corrupt might sneak into your top five. Maybe he's
Corrupt,
on your honorable mention.
corrupt is a sleeper to me
Okay,
because
okay, okay.
especially young corrupt because Dog Food is one of my top albums of all time. You know what I mean?
Somebody stole my shit too.
And that was worthy of stealing right
And
there.
I know who stole it too, my boy Mo. He
Oh,
still
Mo,
got it.
Mo, look, the streaming services are here. I still need that album though. I still need the hardcover. I need that.
Here's the thing. Here's the thing. It's not on streaming anymore. Dog Food isn't on streaming anymore. At least it's not on Spotify. It's not on Spotify. No,
Oh yeah,
they took it down. So I'm even more mad because now I'm like, and so when I go to Mo's crib, I'm gonna steal my CD back.
Got to, man. That Dog Food. No, Dog Food is on Apple.
Okay, well, I need to go back to Apple then because I normally use Spotify.
I take that back. I just looked at it. It's not on Apple.
Okay, so yeah, I think they took it down. They took
They
took
did.
Chronic down. They took Dog Food down, and I want to
everything that was. I think that was under Death Row, wasn't it?
Yeah, I don't even think Doggy Style is there anymore.
Yeah, they took it all. They took it all down. I think Snoop is gonna put it back out.
Yeah, I still have the Doggy Style CD, so I'm okay there. But yeah, man, it's I thought Corrupt might make it. I thought he might be on the outside. Somebody else I thought might make your list.
DJ
Quick crossed my mind.
That's my wife's favorite artist.
Okay.
Yeah. Quick is dangerous, dog.
Yeah.
Quick is dangerous. But I'm gonna tell you what, he didn't crack my top five West Coast artists, but he definitely cracked my top five producers.
Oh, no question. No question. I think if we had a 10, I thought Quick could probably make you 10.
Quick would be in the 10. Quick is in the 10. Yeah, for sure.
Who else I thought of? I thought if we did 10, E40 would definitely be in the top 10.
40 up there, Short is up there.
Short. And there was one more I can't think of. I'll probably think of it after we get up. But those right there, I thought Corrupt might have been able to sneak in. But I knew Nip was going. I didn't know Nip was going to be where you had in place, but I knew Nip was going to make yours. I was like, okay. I was like,
and let's just say this: we give Nip 10 more years to live. Nip is probably in that top 3.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Probably on the high end, probably at 2. Because man,
at the trajectory where he was,
I can see it was crazy. But look, they're not gonna let too many Ice Cubes and too many Pacs, talk their message or whatever.
Oh no,
we know what it is. We know what it is.
Right. No. It's those things are bigger than what the messages are coming. So, and those artists are bigger. So, you had to hope that they would outlast everybody. But yeah, man, this is dope, man. I'm like I said, man, it's been a long time coming. We talked about it, and when you text me tonight, it was like, "Yo, I'm free." I'm like, "Shit, let's get it done."
I'm free, and I'm glad you brought that up because ever since you asked me, I said, you know what, and this is another thing.
Mm-hmm.
I listened to 12 Cal, and now he sparked a new type of energy for me as far as my creative process. So he said, man, let's do the top 5 West Coast artists of all time. And I said, all right. I wrote down in my notes, what would hip hop be without the West Coast? So we got that coming soon.
Hey, you know what? No, it wouldn't be, because again, like I said, from a kid like me in South Carolina, they were so influential, everybody. And it was just like, it wasn't and even as the West expanded, even when the explosion of Dre and Death Row, they were all encompassing. They never, even when the West was mad at the East, or the artists who had a beef or whatever like that, the South was always accepted, and right, and vice versa. Man, I can't tell you, because like you said, Pac was related to the West Coast. He wasn't born there, but I mean that's what he repped. And when he came out, he was coming out of Oakland. But it doesn't matter where Pac goes, man. Everybody wanted to claim him. Like, it's people like, man, I know Tupac used to spend, because he used to spend a lot of time in Atlanta. So I remember people trying to in Atlanta trying to claim Pac. I'm like, no, he ain't
Baltimore.
from here. Baltimore. That's where he's born. He lived in New York. If you listen to the early Pac, that's a very radical Black Pantherish Bay Area type sound. Then that he came back when he got with Death Row, it was definitely a West Coast sound. But like you said, he didn't sound like, Cam. He didn't sound like those dudes, so, but it was always encompassing. And so the West and the MCs, particularly from the mid to late 80s, always meant something to me and my boys, because we got our hands on that music and we got it relatively quickly. And Baylor, it was eye-opening for us. We didn't know, and even when we learned about gangs, it wasn't something that was glorified, or they tried to make it. They kept it real. I mean, I know that sounds cliche, but they really kept it real. But they made it simple enough for us to understand, like, okay, this is the colors you wear, this is the colors we wear, this is what you do or you don't do when you come out here. We got love for you if you come out here. We ain't just gonna bang on you, but understand that you can't come in this neighborhood and say this or do that. And I mean, it was real clear. And I think the music, man, it's just like you mentioned earlier, man, it made you move. Yeah. I don't care who it was, man. If it was King T, Act the Fool, man, we used to play that shit so much, man. It was ridiculous. And so, like, that was my introduction. Those artists like King T, like Eazy-E, NWA, 783, then coming around the Digital Underground, Short, and then Far Side,
Souls of Mischief. Come on, man. Hey, man, don't play around with me, man.
Man, listen, you said something on your podcast about a month and a half ago, and I meant to text you. I was driving, so I couldn't text you. And you said something about the East Siders, and the East Siders had this song. And Baylor, I couldn't, like you get a song in your head, like you can't remember the name of it. Mm-hmm. Man, I had to go to listen to every damn East Sider song until I figured out what the song was.
I've done that before too.
Man, that shit was banging. Yeah. And I mean, like you said, some of those rappers, you'll never confuse them with Rakim or LL as far as like their lyrical presence or whatever like that, man. No. But the thing that I always love,
and they don't know about RBL Posse.
I remember RBL Posse.
They don't know about RBL Posse. I remember. I was a little kid listening to that because my older brother and cousin was listening to that, and I know some of those tracks word for word, and I should know that word for word.
Right. Man, that they always, the thing I loved about those West Coast rappers, man, is that they always made music that made you move. I don't care what it is. You could say these the most gangster hardcore guys ever, but even an Eazy-E, I mean, like, he still gave you music to move to. You wasn't Dope Man, come on, you gotta move. You ain't gonna just stand there.
Cal, people won't believe me, and maybe because it's a lot of them that's a little bit younger than me, they won't believe me that at one point Eazy-E was. Now, hear me out when I say this. I'm not saying he's anywhere close, but the way people was attracted to Eazy-E, it was scary, like almost on Michael Jackson status.
I believe it.
It was scary, bro, and it was just something different about him.
I can believe it, and the reason why I say that is because when we got the news that unfortunately Eazy-E had passed, well, first we got the news he had AIDS, and it was like we got the news like the second week of March, and I think like maybe a week and a half later he died. So like it was just real weird. But I mean, like it was the feeling that overcame us, like people were legit like sad, like, wait a minute, Easy got AIDS? No, that can't happen. That can't be. And and we didn't have as much access to artists as we do now, because now we can look on Twitter, we can look on IG, so forth and so on. You can actually touch the artist. Back then you couldn't. But man, it was like you said, when you said heroes, that's how they were. I mean, like, I literally, my boy Jay Fresh, I mentioned earlier, he literally had he had a black hat and had Ice Cube across it. Like, you couldn't tell him he wasn't Ice Cube. Like, he literally thought he was he literally thought he was Ice Cube. Our other homeboy, he had gangsta on. I remember back in the day, dudes just had the print on their cars, on their windshield. Mm-hmm. He had gangsta #1 on his Toyota Celica, I think. Like, this is like 89.
Right? That's influence right there. And when you talk about music that just make you dance, from the moment you turn on a song, turn on Cali is Active right now. Turn on Cali is Active. Turn on I Got 5 on it. The remix, though. You know what I'm saying? Shout out to Richie Rich.
Richie Rich.
Don't let me get in my bag, dog.
Come on, where you from? Oakland. Smoking.
Come on, man. That was it.
Come on, man. Yeah, man.
That was West Coast, man. West Coast is just it's real feel good music. We can get very brutal and vivid in some of our diss tracks, but at the same time, it's either we're gonna be political or it's gonna be something you could dance to or ride to.
Yep.
At the end of the day, you know what I mean. And a lot of people don't even know, like you said, doing the East Coast West Coast beef, we was kind of like, dog, why y'all be acting like that? But we about to show you what we about. You know what I mean? That's why that New York will always be a special, especially the video. Especially the video. You know what I mean?
Came through and crushed the buildings, Yeah.
Man.
And you know what's cool, I always thought was dope, man, was that even from NWA, they were always talking about LA, places in LA particular, that we were young enough and we didn't have Google Maps, so we didn't know what these places were. So the first time I heard the word Rosecrans, and I'm like, what the hell is a Rosecrans? And then, like, when I came to see my girl, we're riding down the street. I happened to look up and the sign says Rosecrans. I was like, oh shit, this is Rosecrans. And she was like, yeah, why are you tripping? I was like, let me lock my door.
Let me lock my door. Hey, look, and you know what? I'm glad you said that, because we gave you instructions too.
Exactly.
How to survive in South Central. Come on, man. We telling you right now.
Exactly.
But before I get out of here, I would be remiss if I don't do this. I got to give shout out to the up and coming new West Coast artists. You know what I'm saying? That a lot of people may not know about, and they got projects out that's been out. They've been out for maybe a couple of years now. But Jason Cash,
yes,
he from Carson. We got Nana, he from the Crenshaw district. Lil Rucci, he from Inglewood.
Okay.
Rimble, and now let me tell you something about Rimble. He's probably one of the youngest out of the ones that I just said. When you listen to him, I don't know where you would put him. He's a West Coast artist. He's the most proper sounding West Coast artist I've ever heard in my life. I'll send you a track if you haven't heard it. I'm gonna send you music from these 4 artists.
Okay.
But check out Jason Cash album. I think I sent you Jason Cash album. If I haven't, I'll send it.
Send it to me. Send it to me. Yeah.
That is a summertime album. That is a barbecue album.
Okay.
Airplane James. He from the East Side. He from my part of town. Yeah, look him up. Like I said, Lil Rucci, Nana. I think Nana is, to me, he could reach K-Dot status.
Oh wow.
He could reach K-Dot status.
Ain't a lot.
Yeah, you got. I sent you his project. I sent you his first project.
Okay. I need to go back because I don't remember that. Maybe I need to go back and check my text message.
I'll send you both.
Send it to me again.
He got 2 projects out, and then Rimble. I smile when I talk about him because when you hear him rap, it's so proper, but I can't even describe it, dog. I can't even describe it. You just got to listen to it. But I want to give a special shout out to Sugar Free though.
Oh, okay.
Sugar Free, come on,
the
man.
Legend, Sugar Free.
Sugar Free, man. That's all I got to. Y'all, everybody should know who Sugar Free is.
Oh yeah, you got to know. know. I can't forget about Vince Staples. I like Vince too.
Vince Staples.
I like Vince.
Is dangerous. Salute to him, and he figured out the new game. Like he figured it out. Like if you just listen to him talk about the business, he is beyond. He's light years ahead of time, and he got some projects too.
Yeah, I like
Yeah,
Vince. I like
yeah.
and Vince don't take himself too serious either. I like Vince. I
Hey,
like Vince a
go
lot.
look up Blue Suede. Blue
Yes.
Suede. If you want to hear some Long Beach gang banging,
Mm-hmm.
but is one of the smartest artists. One of these smartest artists. Period. Like he figured it out quick.
Yeah,
You know what I
man.
mean. So hey, don't sleep on the West Coast.
Oh yeah,
Don't
I'd
sleep
be
on the West
remiss.
Coast.
I'd be remiss if I didn't mention, the TDE crew. They dope. They
Yeah,
still.
that's it. That's a cheat code right there.
Yeah,
No,
yeah,
Schoolboy Q. Oh my god, man.
yeah,
Yeah,
man.
man. I don't think we'll ever get a Black Hippie album.
Nah,
Yeah,
because with Kendrick moving on, Schoolboy Q, I saw Schoolboy Q was like over in Scotland playing golf or something. Like, man, these dudes
yeah.
ain't making no more albums. But I mean, that run and that wave that they've had. I mean, you got to figure the Top Dog got some more things coming up under his sleeve. That more heat coming. So they're not done by any stretch of the
And a
imagination.
lot of cats just know Black Hippie. They talk about K Dot and Schoolboy Q. Uh, don't sleep on Absol.
Oh no,
He
no,
sleeps a lot, but
no,
he's one of the most dangerous cats.
no.
Man,
Absol can
come
rap.
on, man. Yeah, absolutely, man.
Yeah,
Shout out to J
absolutely.
Rock too.
Oh
Shout out
yeah,
to J
yeah.
Rock.
Shout out to J Rock. Shout out to the whole TDE crew. But yeah, man. Like I said, I had to get you on here, man, so we could chop it up, man. Before we get out of here, man, tell folks where they can catch you at, on the podcast and on the socials.
You can find me on Twitter at Baylorism, at
Mhm.
TikTok at Baylorism. If you want to follow my IG, that's at Baylor the Great. And just fly out to LAX. I might be available, might not. Depends on who you are. Depends on how much time I got. It depends on how much time I want to spare. But yeah, come out here, get some of this sun.
Yeah, man. LA is a beautiful place, man. Probably one of my favorite cities to visit. It is.
It's expensive.
Yeah, that it is. But I mean, but you know what, man? When I come out there, I don't even worry about money, man. And as funny as that sounds, like I'm coming out there for the vibe and the fun, man. And I love coming out there, especially like in the wintertime when it's cold back here and it's warm out there, man. Like I said, man, we gotta come back. We're definitely coming back. We're leaving the kids.
You know
We
that
might,
mean?
huh?
You know what that mean? When you leaving the kids, it's a large margin that opens up
Oh
for
yeah.
getting
Oh
into
yeah.
whatever you want to get into.
Yeah, man. Yeah, we definitely gonna do that, man. So make sure you guys check out his podcast, Open Run with BTG, Baylor the Great. Those drop weekly on all platforms, so you can't miss them. If you guys been listening long enough, if you don't know, check out my podcast. This podcast, the 12 Kyle podcast. It drops every Thursday at midnight. From time to time, we'll drop bonus episodes on Sundays at midnight. You can find it everywhere, christianmingle.com, Spotify, farmersmarket.com, wherever you want to find podcasts, that's where I'm at. And on the socials at 12 Kyle. So that's going to do it for us.
So okay, we can't do this though.
What's that?
We got to show the women some love. Yo,
Oh,
Lady of Rage, Miss LA. I'm sorry, we got to do that.
Oh yeah. Can't forget them, man. Shout out to Yo Yo. Love Yo Yo.
Lady of Rage
Rage
is better than some of these guys.
Oh,
let them know.
Bars. She more than held her own on Death Row. She was the first lady of Death Row, and rest in peace to Jules, who recently passed away. Another first lady of Death Row. Say what you want, man, but Death Row cranked out a lot of records, man. So the talent was definitely there. Cats like Danny Boy and RBX, just to name a few. So, but yeah, man, you guys catch the podcast. It's called the 12 Kyle Podcast. Again, drops weekly. That's going to do it for us. So for my brother, BTG, Baylor the Great, I'm your boy, 12 Kyle. We'll catch you guys next time. 5,000.